It looked like you and Patrick Vieira were trading insults and threats in the tunnel beforehand. What happened?
Don't want to go into too much detail, but Patrick Vieira is 6'4" and starts having a go at Gary Neville. He says, come and have a go at me.
Well, they don't make them like that anymore, do they? 20 years since that epic night at Highbury, and we've dropped into the Manchester United dressing room here at Old Trafford with two of these central characters from that evening, Roy and... Why are you pointing at him?
It's his fault.
Was it really?
Well, yeah, because he was the threats were against you, weren't they, Nev? So they were making the threats against Nev, obviously from what happened a few months earlier at Old Trafford. And yeah, it just got a little bit messy.
Was it Roy to the rescue?
Well, I wasn't being attacked. I was just being...
No, not attacked.
I was being abused. Yeah, they were just sort of trying to intimidate. I mean, I spoke to Patrick since, and yeah, they weren't happy at all with what happened here at Old Trafford when we obviously got in about them. They were, at that time, they were an unbelievable team, and we had to be aggressive against them, and he felt we took it too far.
Isn't it amazing, 20 years on, that moment still resonates? Does that surprise you?
Not really. I think it reflects where the teams were, the characters that we had in the team. I think the importance of the game, remember, slightly different today. But yeah, it was, you know, great days. Great days.
It's great. It's like folklore now, isn't it? It's like Kevin Keegan's, you know, rant at the end of the game. I think things like that you look back upon, and they're really special moments. And I think you need more of those moments. Obviously, we've had some recently. People like Jose Mourinho and Jurgen Klopp give us those types of incidents as well.
But yeah, but the key was still to get the right result. Whatever goes on in the tunnel, yeah, which that was the most important thing. So it was no good us having a bit of argy-bargy with Arsenal lads and making all. The key was to go out and obviously do the business, which fortunately we did that night.
That night, the first goal, Arsenal scored the first goal. Ashley Cole, who I used to sit next to for England, I'm right back, he's left back, and he's the most placid guy in the world, Ash, screaming in my face. Who did it the other week when Gabriel did it to Hoyland? It was similar to that. And I thought, Jesus, they're like properly gone, you know what I mean? They're really emotional.
Tension,
like
a lot of tension with this fixture when we were playing.
Times have changed, of course, 20 years on. Does this dressing room almost need a little bit of that fire from back then?
But you know, again, I don't know what kind of characters or dynamics are in the United dressing room. We were chatting about earlier. I would like to have 5 minutes in the dressing room with a team and just see what the dynamics are like. Who's taking control of it? Who's pushing who's challenging each other, what voices are coming out in the dressing room. I'd love to look at the reaction from the senior players. It's difficult to tell, but I would love to have 5 minutes in the dressing room and just see what the dynamics are like in this United dressing room, particularly for a team that's struggling so much.
I thought you meant you wanted 5 minutes to talk to them, to put your message across.
I don't mean leaving 5 minutes with players just to see what their mindset's like. Are they all quiet? I know people talk about, well, dressing rooms are different to when we played, but surely they can't be that much different. There still must be characters. There still must be aggro, and there still must be temper. The people must be challenging each other. That's what I'm talking about. Listen, I know the game has changed a little bit, but surely there's that still fight in your dressing room, because we talk all the time about what happens from the ownership, managers, team shape, whatever, but sometimes you have to look at players and go, well, what are you going to do about it? There has to come a point where players look at each other going, ultimately, we've got to do something about it. And my disappointment with this United team is not that they're competing in the top or they're mid-table. This team is competing with Everton and West Ham. They're on the same points as them teams who have been struggling themselves. That would be my major frustration with this group of players.
Do you think, Gary, that almost the biggest challenge facing Ruben Amorim in the short and possibly the medium and long term is changing the culture within this dressing room?
Look, Roy's just covered the culture, the character and the personality. I think there is a bigger worry for me in this dressing room. A few years ago, United had a team that had Lukaku and Pogba and Alexis Sanchez, and it had Di Maria, and I thought they were had fantastic talent. They were capable, I think, destroying teams on the day. My worry with this group of players, as I look around this dressing room, is they are nowhere near the calibre of players that actually have failed Manchester United in the last 10 years. And I say that sort of with some level of kindness. It's not the most kind thing to say, but I generally look around this dressing room and I think to myself, how this club has ended up in a position whereby it has recruited, as Ruben Amorim called it, I'll quote Ruben Amorim, the worst Manchester United team in history. It's a long way back from that, to a point now where you've got the situation whereby they don't look like they're better than any other team that they play. They don't look better organised, they don't look like they've got better character and personality, but more worryingly is the actual quality.
My argument to that, Nev, my argument to this, when we're saying about this group of players, the lack of quality is, so they go to Man City to get a result, they go and get a good result against Liverpool, they go and beat Arsenal a month or two in the FA. So they have their moments where you produce. The last few years they've been a cup team. So they do turn up every now and again. So that's where you question then the kind of honesty of the group. You can't turn up every 4, 5, 6 weeks for Man United go. And that's why I think it's always an insult to certain teams when you say, oh, you're a cup team. Well, you're just up every few weeks for a certain game. And what happens now at the moment, when you're out of the domestic cups, you start looking at the league table, you go, hold on a second, you've been getting away with it with the cup games, but now you start looking at the league table, you go, how bad really is it? So so my argument to Neville is going, yeah, I know they're up against it, but why turn up and produce every now and again the odd performance and then are rubbish in some other games? So there's no in between, is there?
So go on then, I'm going to let you sit down there or wherever for like 30 seconds before the game today. Just say...
Bruno's...
You can go and see Bruno's seat if you want.
No.
What would you say? What words are you going to find to lift this team before they go out today? Because there must have been times when you did that when you guys were sharing a dressing room.
Again, I think that you have to remind people as well. When people go back to when we played, we had difficult spells. We had months where we'd have tough times. We'd have injuries. There was many times we didn't win a trophy. But you try and find a spark from somewhere. A young player, a senior player. You need a goal scorer. You need your goalkeeper to save you. And that's why I go back to, for all the issues you think that's going on at the football club at the moment, and it's well documented on and off the pitch. But you got to find something in the dressing room. That's where you got to look at each other and go, let's create something, a bit of spirit, a bit of fight. Even today, let's be hard to beat. Make sure we don't concede at set pieces or whatever. You might get the odd chance, but don't be as bad as they have been in the last few months, particularly at home. Or even today, listen, let's try and get the first goal. They've been so poor defensively and giving up chances.
Yeah, I mean, I came last Sunday just as a fan, walked down to watch against Fulham. And when you see a team that's got Højlund, Xerxes and Eriksen up front, and it had Casemiro and Fernandes in midfield, and it'll be something similar today. Garnacho might come in. You wonder how they actually can win a game against Arsenal. That's my concern. It's how can they actually win a game? You know, the reality of it is they're just not as good as the team that they're playing against, so they're going to have to do it in different ways. Going back to how you started this piece, there were Arsenal teams that were far better than us for a few periods in Arsene Wenger's reign, where we thought we're going to have to do something different to try and win. That's why we ended up going aggressive against them, being compact, playing really, to be fair, on the counter-attack. They're going to have to do something different today to win this game because they're not as good as Arsenal. Can
Manchester United then ask some questions of Arsenal here this afternoon? Well, certainly Arsenal had all the answers and plenty of inspiration when they won here on a famous night in 2002.